so much like your mother.
The big reveal, obviously, in this episode is that the teen appears to be a character called Wiccan from the comics, who is Scarlet Witch's son. Now, I know what you're thinking if you're like me. Hey, didn't Scarlet Witch's children die at the end of WandaVision? And the answer to that question is yes. That is what happened to those kids. Now, she spent, I think, was it Multiverse of Madness trying to find Darkhold magic to bring them back? But then she died at the end of Multiverse of Madness. And we did not see her bring them back. Now, maybe in her final death throes, she was able to bring a child into existence. That's one theory that's been floating around. Another theory that's been floating around is that, what do you call it? That he's from an alternate dimension.
Right. I mean, this is the
multiverse,
increasingly ending multiverse arc of the MCU. But we got to pull in a couple more characters into Earth 616 before we never reference the multiverse again.
Absolutely.
Which feels like a little bit of what Marvel is trying to do here as we head toward the end of this phase.
Absolutely. So that's very possible as well. I will say, I'm not. I don't really care about Wiccan as a character. I don't know if you have a deep. He's extremely powerful character, so that's notable. I don't know if you have any attachment to Wiccan, Patrick.
I don't. I didn't. This is very much a they're going to have to sell me as the audience member sort of character. But I know that, in the various sort of corners that I follow and people that are more not like Wiccan is a beloved fan character, and it's one of those. I can't believe we've made it this far that they're now reaching into the bag of bringing Wiccan in, and that meant in a positive way. It's like this is a character that you have to be so down the rabbit hole of characters that would are on tier lists to eventually get to Wiccan. He's part of the Young Avengers. He eventually, in the comics, it becomes a hero, a critical part of the Young Avengers formation. It's wildly unclear what Marvel's roadmap is going. They've done the work to have a Young Avengers lineup. Now they have enough characters in place to form a cohesive version that you'd be plucking from.
Have they? Okay, but anyway.
Okay. It's if you're arguing whether they could sell it, so that's different than saying do they have characters that would form a lineup that would be similar to ones pulled from the comics. That part they have done at this point.
There is a tweet that I reference very fondly by Matthew Castle where he writes, "My favorite bit of Marvel films is where you sit through 9 minutes of credits to watch a 5-second clip of some guy stepping through a doorway and saying, 'It's me, Blorko.'" End quote. And I referenced this a few times, especially when we were talking about She-Hulk. Literally had an "It's Blorko" moment where, remember the Hulk showed up at the end of that show and introduced his son?
"This is my son, Scar."
And it's "It's me, Blorko, Hulk's son," basically. It's kind of something I hate about the MCU of showing a character shows up, "It's me, so and so," and then if you don't know from the comics, it doesn't matter to you at all, and it's very fan servicey.
I think this is different. I was going to say.
Don't worry.
Okay.
I'm getting to it. I'm getting to it. What I think is different about this version of it, I like this a lot better than the "It's me, Blorko," because first of all, I mean, yes, it's fundamentally the same thing. Oh, it's a character that you didn't know. Well, first of all, they have a connection to a character that we know from before. Right? That's also from a TV show that this is a direct sequel to. So it's okay, that's great. Second of all, it's happening at the end of the, 5th episode is this?
Yeah.
It's happening at the end of the 5th episode. So it's there's 4 more episodes left. So how are they going to deal? They have actually time to deal with it as opposed to just dropping it like a mic at the end of the final episode. They're actually going to deal with it in some way. So I have faith. And then finally, Blorko does some really upsetting shit. He basically takes possession of the people in the coven and throws them all into this quicksand mud thing. And what the hell's going to happen next? Who knows? We have no idea where this thing is going. And so I appreciate that they did this in the middle of the show. And for those reasons, it's way above average as a Blorko reveal.
An above average Blorko moment.
Yes, above average Blorko moment. That's right.
I agree. I think that is and it's not just the kind of memey nature of it's Blorko, but it's also, especially in this, the last 4, post Endgame, how many times have those characters been introduced and you have no faith there will be any, what used to happen was, yes, Marvel ran and like was doing constantly in post credits or ends of films, like introducing a character, but you had some reasonable expectation that, all right, but like in the next 2 years, like that character is going to show up in a film and they're going to pick up where they left off. Like now, like the amount of like threads that are just like the end of Eternals, like Thanos' brother, like who's the guy from Ted Lasso who shows up as somebody at the end of Thor? He's there's just a bunch of these where like even if like you're tired of the "it's me Blorko" part of it and you can't.
I think you're talking about Brett Goldstein, right?
Yes, but who is he? He's playing he's Hercules, I think is who he is teasing there. Like none of that shit's gonna happen. And it's fine. Like drop the threads. Like Marvel needs to like focus like that. It's okay if you don't deliver on these little cameos. But even if you were tired of the trope, you at least had expectation that there'd be some delivery on it later, and that just stopped happening, which means it's now a trope, and also it's just a disappointment mechanism for the people who do exist to point at the screen and go, well, at least I know who Blorko is. So here, it seems like it's pretty well woven into the fabric. Right. There's no surprise from the storytellers that Wiccan is here. Like we can't necessarily say like, was Wiccan a requirement to like be in this show for Marvel to greenlight it? Like, you know, that's a question for a show like the franchise. Like it's very plausible that like, hey, if you want to tell this story with Agatha on the Witch's Road, you also need to introduce Wiccan and so find a way to do that in the storytelling. If that's the compromise to get the show made, at least it seems like it's happening naturally within the fabric of the show. And like I hope like that is a broader lesson learned by Marvel going forward. Is like, of course you have to expand the roster and yada, yada, yada. But this is we'll see how they land it. You know, that's for us to see over the course of the rest of the season. But this is a much better way to introduce a brand new character that's going to, in the context of the episode as a cliffhanger, only make sense to audience members who can Blorko, point their finger and do it. But for everyone else, at least you have faith. Well, okay, well, next week they will have to deal with the consequences. We'll probably find out
more about who Blorko is. I mean, Wiccan, sorry. Hey everyone, David Chen here. Thank you so much for watching that video from Decoding TV. If you want to get an audio version of the show, all you got to do is go to podcast.decodingtv.com. And if you want to support what we do, get ad-free episodes of the podcast and also bonus episodes of the podcast, go to decodingtv.com and become a paid member. Of course, you can also like and subscribe for more. We appreciate it. Thanks. See you later.